Love podcasts, hate nonsense. It's the PoliticsJOE podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Did you get a new phone?
No.
I've never seen it bareback like that before.
Have you not?
No.
I smashed the screen, so I kind of was like, what's the use of a cover?
I also did that to mine on day 2 of having it, which I thought was quite
Oh,
impressive.
that is annoying.
Yeah, I thought it was quite good.
The back of it looks like a crazy paving kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like that. It's quite smart.
I dropped it. I actually dropped it 4 times in 2 minutes, and on the 4th one,
That's fair. I think
smashed.
I'm not mad about that. See, when I put my phone in my pocket, sitting on a bench, and I took my phone back out, and it was cracked.
Did you sit on it?
No, I just put it in my pocket. I was sitting, and it went.
What have you got in your ass?
Buns of steel.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Shall we talk about some bloody Prime Minister's questions?
We should. It's the last one of the season.
Last one of the season. Good luck, everybody.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know what world he's living in. The economy is shrinking, and they did not think this jobs tax through or who it would impact. Another area affected is the hospice sector. Hospices believe the budget will cost them an extra £30 million. Yesterday, Conservatives voted to exempt social care, nurseries, charities and hospices from their jobs tax. Labour voted this down. Yep. So can the Prime Minister at least agree to fund hospices so they can continue their invaluable work helping people at the end of their lives?
Mr. Speaker, we put a record amount into the NHS in the budget to deal with the problem that they left, and we'll set out the funding arrangements for hospices in the new year. But it's the same old, same old. They want all the benefits. She said to herself she wants all the benefits from the budget, but she doesn't want to pay for any of them. That's what got us into the problem in the first place.
Mr. Speaker, I did not hear a commitment there to help hospices, which is a shame. The truth is, this winter, people will be suffering because of his choices. The economy is shrinking, inflation is going up, and jobs are being lost because of his budget. Pensioners won't be able to heat their homes because of his government's decisions. They raised people's hopes but then smashed them with broken promises. And now we learn that he is about to give away our hard-won Brexit freedoms. Yeah. Mr. Speaker. All right. Mr. Speaker, now we learn he is about to give away our hard-won Brexit freedoms. The truth is, they are punching the British people in the face, literally in the case of one of his MPs, and he will pretend that this is about the past. But we all know these are his choices, bad choices. If he's looking for a New Year's resolution, why doesn't he start with telling the truth?
I'll do it now. £22 billion black hole left by them. Record numbers on the waiting list. Nearly.
It's not a good time to leave the chamber, is it? Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, £22 billion black hole. Record waiting list with our NHS. They should hang their heads in shame. Immigration completely out of control. Nearly 1 million net migration. She was the cheerleader for all of that. She wants the truth. That's the truth. That's why they're sitting there. Mr. Speaker, whilst they cart from the sidelines, talking the country down, this government is getting on with the job. Record funding for the NHS. Money for our trains, buses, and yes, Mr. Speaker, potholes. Pay rises for 3 million of the lowest paid. Wages growing faster than inflation. Planning laws reform. Great British Energy set up. We're only getting started. Next year we'll continue to rebuild, no matter what the blockers opposite say.
Prime Minister's questions today. It stunk.
Okay, well, let's get into the analysis first.
No,
before you can
this
say
is analysis.
Let's
is analysis.
Actually let them see the bits before we.
They've done it.
Before we.
They've seen one.
No, but let's just talk. Okay, so they were talking there about Kemi Badenoch is basically just sort of reading off ways that the Conservatives. That says it all, doesn't it? That Labour have harmed pensioners.
A Freudian slip, perhaps.
Freudian slip. The economy is shrinking, inflation is going up, and jobs are being lost because of his budget. What's interesting about that is that she then starts to complain about how he wants closer alignment with trade with the EU. Now, if anyone pays the slightest bit of attention to the OBR, you'll know that inflation has gone up, the economy is shrinking, and jobs are being lost because of Brexit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's amazing how they can identify these two things, but they don't quite have the critical thinking to put them together. But she did go to the same university as me.
Did she?
She did.
Oh.
I'm really surprised she went there because it's like
It's quite a hippie university.
it's a
isn't it?
socialist university.
Uh-huh.
It wouldn't even join Red Brick because it was like, we're so counter.
Yeah, going to uni in Brighton. You know when
Sussex.
I was in Brighton.
Yeah, but it's not.
Sorry, well, okay, whatever. Sorry.
Yeah, well, you went to university in Glasgow, didn't you?
Well, no, Edinburgh is such a different. Glasgow isn't in Edinburgh.
Well, do you know
Brighton is
what?
in Sussex.
All right. You win today.
With my grasp of geography. You know when I did the Extreme Britain in Brighton, of like the gayest place in Britain?
Yeah.
Some guy, I don't know where he was from, but he wasn't British, and he's complaining about like how on display LGBT stuff was in Brighton. And
You
it's
told
like,
him to go there.
pal, I maybe would have Googled Brighton one time before if I was going to object to
Yeah.
anything gay being there.
That's like when people move into like a room above a pub and then start complaining about the noise.
Yeah, no, literally, it is like that.
Sorry. I should do some ASMR, shouldn't I?
Ava's drinking a delicious can of Coca-Cola. Very Christmassy. Do you know what I don't get about Kevin Badenoch?
Yeah.
So, by and large, you'd say that Starmer's not doing very well in government. His support has plummeted. Every thing they announce, everyone reacts like, what the fuck are you doing? He's spent his political capital on nothing. They're like, polling is now like 20 points what it was, like pre-election. How on earth does Starmer come out better at every single PMQs than Badenoch? She's so bad at this. Like, allowing him to do that thing at the end of like, just railing against the Conservatives' record in government.
Yeah.
He should not be able to do that. She should have such... He's like lying on the side, like open wound, and she's actually helping him. She's kind of dabbing at it.
He's like
She's
Paul
cleaning it
Mescal
out.
in Gladiator 2.
Yes, I've not seen it.
Neither have I.
Are you assuming that's what happens?
And then, you know that one in Normal People?
Daisy Edgar Jones,
Yeah.
right?
Instead of kicking him, she wipes his brow.
Right.
That's what Kemi does to Keir.
So are you suggesting they're in love?
No.
Okay.
Daisy wasn't in Gladiator 2.
No, but what would Marianne's relationship be to
Look,
Mr. Gladiator?
people who get it.
Right.
No, but you bang on. Like he is on the ropes,
Oh.
and she basically she gives him an open goal. It's absolutely extraordinary.
Even the first question was about, she says, oh, your decision about waspy women, which is being like widely panned in the press and across the House. And I know the Conservatives would have done the same thing and probably said I think they said the same thing when they were in government. But like, she's associating herself with the unpopular decision. It's her being like, great decision. You did what I said. Anyway, on to the next thing. You don't need to do that. Just don't mention it.
Yeah, she had a very easy win today, which was to say, you signed that agreement that waspy women were going to get paid, and now you've reneged on it. You're flip-flop, Starmer. Why can't you commit to anything that you promised pre-election, right? Easy. Instead, she's like, oh, economy's not doing too well, is it? Whose fault was that? Mine.
Oh, it's tricky cleaning up my mess, isn't it, Prime Minister?
Yeah.
I wish you the best of luck. Big job.
Nigel Farage was in the House today.
Yes, he was.
He was really enjoying himself, actually, just before this clip. Should we play it?
We're doing Dave Dugan.
We are. Here's the SNP's Dave Dugan.
Let's go.
Mr Speaker, before the election, this Prime Minister said he would lower energy bills by £300. Since he took office, they've gone up by £149. He said he would protect the winter fuel payment, but now he's in power, he's stripped it off our pensioners. And he said he lined up for many photos with waspy women, saying he'd have their backs, and he's just betrayed them in the most scandalous way possible. This is now the defining characteristic of this one-trick phony Prime Minister who says one thing and does another. In Scotland, the SNP are 16 points ahead in the polls. Does he understand? does he understand why the people of these islands, especially those of us in Scotland, treat him with such contempt?
They used to ask those questions. They used to ask those questions from this sort of area with very many MPs not so long ago. That all changed in July, and he's now carping from right up there. We can hardly hear him.
You loved this one, didn't you? You were whooping.
It really piqued my interest because Prime Minister's questions today was dog shit. It was really bad. This is one of the worst ones. Like, there's a reason we only picked one of the 6 questions that Kemi Badenoch had.
Because there was no consistent line of questioning today at all. She's so all over the place. I don't know who writes it, but fire them. Because no, truly, because it doesn't. I tell you what. So Aisha Hazarika, from when she was a special advisor, she wrote this book called Punch and Judy Politics, and it's basically like a lot of it is about, or some of it is about how they put together Prime Minister's questions for the shadow leader, and it's an art. It's an art form of how they prepare the leader for it.
Yep.
Whoever is, it's not Picasso. Like, it's like Picasso from like Wish that you've ordered, or like Temu or something, because they haven't got a clue. There's no cohesive structure or argument made by Badenoch. And this is at a time, by the way, where the Conservatives could really pick up ground, as you said, really easily. Winter fuel payments, waspy women. There is so much political capital that Starmer has, spaffed.
Pissed up the wall.
Yeah. And she could be licking that wall.
Just one more thing on Kemi before. What?
Yeah.
Right.
And instead, she's pissing there too. It's just a piss wall.
She's helping.
It's just, they're going to have to call the chamber the piss room. No one can get in. They're all having to wear wellies.
He's pissing in a piss-soaked room, and most of it Kemi pissed before.
Yeah.
And now she's like, whoa. Don't worry, it's not all his. Mostly mine.
Yeah, exactly.
Mostly ours. We were in government before. That's what... Oh, I had a point about Kemi, but it's completely gone because I was thinking about the piss thing. This is the piss cast, after all.
Oh, do you remember when it was the piss cast?
Why was it the piss cast?
I can't remember.
Laura, do you know why it was the piss cast?
Was it not pissing, shitting, kissing?
Oh.
Wasn't that the week that one of our old teachers recommended it to their class?
Yes. No, it was my friend who's a teacher. Oh. That was like...
Was it that episode?
She's a modern studies teacher in Scotland, and she was like... And I suppose it probably is quite hard to get some like 14-year-olds to care about politics. It was like, oh, well, this is like quite a funny, like entertaining, informative way to learn about current affairs. That pissing, shitting and kissing.
Better than the one we did on fingering.
And we were snubbed at the British Political Podcast Awards.
Did we even submit to that?
I don't know if we did. It's funny if
Didn't
we
we get
snubbed.
asked to apply for Comedy Moment of the Year and we couldn't face it?
Because but imagine like fucking like.
We should have just put the fingering one in. We should have just done it. We should have just.
Because like imagine at the award they'll play it.
Yeah.
And imagine how painful that would be watching like.
So, anyway.
Anyway, back to Dave Dugan. Dave Dugan. This is exactly the tone, and it's like righteous anger. Dave Dugan was assuming the position of, and he was angry. It was coherent. It was like just a list of things that Starmer's done wrong.
Out.
Shut up. But like, Kemi should be taking notes. I'd be like, oh, that was good. That was like an effective way of holding the feet to the fire.
It's a brilliant line at the end. Does he understand why the people of these islands, especially those of us in Scotland, treat him with such contempt?
It is quite funny to claim that, though.
Yeah, no, of course it's funny to claim that.
Considering there's fucking like 7 of them now.
And also, Starmer actually did... Look, credit where credit's due. Starmer really got him there when he was like, I remember when you lot used to sit down here.
Can't hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so high up.
Turn the mic up, would you?
Are you beside the DUP?
Yeah.
You're fucking nobodies.
Yeah.
That was what he was doing. It was good. But then also like his point about like how badly Starmer's doing. So they're 16 points behind the SNP. It's been one of the favourites to be returned to Hollywood again, which at the beginning of this year. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like, if you thought about like the polling at the beginning of the year, the scandals that the SNP have had, like, Hamza Yusuf was forced to resign after 2 months. And everyone's like, oh, John Swinney's just like the caretaker. Like, I know John Swinney's looking like quite a credible candidate to be elected First Minister in his own right. Mm-hmm. You must be, like, Anna Sarwar must be tearing his hair out.
Anna Sarwar has actually very different politics from the current Keir Starmer, though.
Yeah.
Sarwar is...
He's not like a radical lefty. He's like
no, but he's
soft.
more left than
He's more like,
Starmer.
like Miliband, I guess, rather than...
Yeah.
Which is,
Ooh, no, but Miliband is quite far to the left.
Yeah,
of
no,
Starmer.
but
I don't think he's as far as Miliband. Do you know who I think he's a little bit further to the right of Miliband.
okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I didn't want people to like, because I know no one cares about Scottish politics in the audience, but I didn't want them to think he was like a Corbynite. He's
Oh,
not like
sorry.
he's
Just
not
to
like
be clear, I wasn't saying Anna Sarwar was a Corbynite.
No, thank you. He's not like Richard Leonard. Anyway,
now we've got the Scottish bit out of the way.
Yep, absolutely. That counts as we get regional funding for that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
He lined up for photos with waspy women saying he'd have their backs, but now he's betrayed them in the most scandalous way possible. It's very well written, this question, isn't it? Because he did. But this is the big problem with the waspy women, right?
Should we do the clip about the waspy women first?
Oh, have you got one?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, is it Ian Byrne?
It is.
Go on, here he is.
Before we get into
Liverpool's
the waspy women,
finest.
here's Ian Byrne.
Parliamentary Ombudsman concluded that an injustice was done to 1950s born women. It ruled that they are owed compensation and asked Parliament intervened to deliver justice. In my constituency of Liverpool, West Derby, I have more than 5,000 women affected. And alongside a great many members in this House, I believe these women are owed compensation for the injustice done to them at the hands of the state. So will the Prime Minister give members the opportunity to vote on whether they believe waspy women are owed compensation?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I've just set out the factual background and the percentage that knew about the change. And the simple fact of the matter is, in the current economic circumstances, the taxpayer can't bear the burden of tens of billions of pounds in compensation. Well, they're chuntering away. In 14 years, they accelerated the changes and not once spoke about compensation.
So that was one of 3 questions about the waspy women at PMQs today.
More than that.
Ben Lake, Ian Byrne, Diane Abbott.
3.
3. Never come from me on my
Do you know why?
counting.
Because I thought that there was going to be... I thought the Plaid Cymru woman was from... was a woman. But now I'm remembering it wasn't. It was Ben Lake, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Important not to misgender people. And I know you struggle with that.
No, it's just because it's normally... What's her name? Oh, I've forgotten her name. Oh, they're going to have me now. The Welsh are going to have me for this.
Leanne.
I've forgotten her name. Who normally stands up during PMQs. Ben was a fresh face, all right? Ben was a fresh face.
We've never seen Ben before.
I've never seen a lake either.
No, or Ben.
And did you know that Kate Bush has never seen a hill?
What?
She once gave a quote to The Guardian. That
She's never seen a hill. People can just say anything, can't they?
Yeah. Like me just there. She
Yeah,
didn't do that at all.
No.
Right, so waspy women.
Waspy women.
Okay. So in 2022, Starmer signs a statement for fair and fast compensation for waspy women. And at the time, the Parliamentary Ombudsman is sort of putting this compensation at around £1,000 to just below £3,000, right? For people who didn't receive letters in good enough time, and so they left their job. Because obviously, if you retire, I mean, there is obviously the risk that you might, when you go to seek another job, you could be underemployed. But you can still go back into employment. A lot of these women didn't, and some of them are now asking for sums like £45,000. Now, if you were going to pay, at one point, Starmer was broadly on side with this compensation scheme of £10,000 for waspy women. That would cost the taxpayer £36 billion.
It's a lot of money.
£36 billion. Now, I just want to put this into a little bit of context, all right? Because do I think it's fair that some people may not have received adequate notice? No, I don't. And I do think that perhaps you need like £1,000 compensation or like a sort of something akin to a redundancy payment to make up for that. The 10% of people that the Parliamentary Ombudsman says didn't actually receive the letters. However, when you actually look at that generation of people, they grew up with free university education, with a healthcare system that was, well, on the up.
Functional.
That had, they were able to get 100% mortgages on their homes. They were also able to buy a home on, that was 5 times their salary. In some cases, they could even get 110% mortgages. The houses that they own have gone up goodness knows how much. People who've bought houses for, say, maybe £50,000 when they were younger, those houses are now worth £500,000. And that's me being actually, that's me being a bit shy there with what those houses are probably owned. And I was reading this one woman in the Mirror this morning, and she was a teacher. And she said she retired at 58 because she had enough savings to get herself to 60, and then she was expecting to be on the state pension. Bearing in mind that this state pension age has been in the offing since like 1995.
I think it was 93.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Before we were born, it was in the offing. It's just sort of, it feels rather, it's very difficult as a person who has grown up with two financial, one definite recession, one almost recession, a period of stagnation, a period where our student loans skyrocketed, where interest rates have been extraordinarily unfavourable, where it's extremely difficult to get onto the housing market. It's very hard that you were able to retire at 58 on your savings as a teacher.
Yeah.
A teacher.
That's a different world, isn't it?
I'm thinking about my teacher friends. There's no way in hell they'll be able to do that.
Maybe 108.
Yeah.
What I think is interesting, though, is I do kind of have some empathy for it. You mentioned all the things that the state gave to them. This is probably the first time they interacted with the state and the state failed them, almost. So I do understand the annoyance and the confusion.
They're not used to it. Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, imagine like everything, like all the state's entirely functional.
Like Daddy says yes all the time.
Yeah,
and the one time
first time Daddy says no, you'd be like, what the fuck, Daddy?
Yeah.
I didn't get your text. Daddy, my pocket money.
Where's my pony?
I'm going to Mykonos. And now I can't go to Mykonos.
Daddy, I want another pony.
I can only be in Mykonos for 4 weeks, not 10.
We'd be bloody lucky, by the way, to retire
go to
anywhere.
Mykonos?
No, but anywhere south of 75.
Yeah, but
we looked at that projection earlier, Ed. What did it say? By 2050, people will be retiring at 70. So by the time we get to state pension age, we're going to be 75.
Yes. But the thing is, I'm never going to die, so don't need to retire.
Also, you can just go back to Scotland.
What, just like...
recoup the money on all the prescriptions.
Do you think that's what happens?
Do another degree.
All like, what do I pay for? Like prescription charges. If I went to university here, I'd have to pay tuition fees. I should go back and like claim that back. Mm-hmm. Just siphon off some oil.
Well, there'll be no oil, as you'll find out on Friday or Monday, depending on when we decide to put it out. But Laura's done an investigation in Grangemouth.
Yeah, not into like oil reserves.
No, she actually has gone right deep into the oil.
We sent Laura
She's drilled
to the crust of the earth.
Yeah.
Imagine we did that and hadn't like signposted that at all. That we had like the resources, the money, like the time to like send Laura on like a scientific first expedition, and this is the first time we'd mentioned it.
I don't think you can go down there, can you?
No. Maybe we can. Shall we try?
Do you think in one of those, what's that one renewable energy where they send the water down and then like the heat of the magnet warms it up? What is it? Geothermal. Do you think that could be like a button slide? Like, do you think you can? Do you think you can go with it?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think it would be like potholing, caving?
Potentially, yes. Have you done caving?
I can't even get on the tube. Like,
oh yeah, I forgot.
Why would I? Caving.
No, that is true. I did it in New Zealand and it was quite freaky.
How tight were the holes?
Oh, like...
Sorry. Sorry.
It's a very personal question.
My God. Sorry about that.
But it was like kind of an underground river, and you were in sometimes you're swimming, sometimes you were walking, and sometimes you were sitting on this like inner tube, and at some points it was like here, and you were kind of.
I don't like that at all.
There was fish down there without eyes because they didn't need them because it was so dark.
Well, I bet you were relieved. You hate fish eyes.
It's just the eyes that I found freaky. What were we talking about? Waspy Women.
I think we were talking about Waspy Women. Right, we've got to wrap up. Should we do a bit on Musk?
Yeah, so Laura's written a heading.
Should Starmer snuggle up to Musk?
Yeah, she's been on Grok again, making images.
All right, so let me just give a bit of context. So yesterday, would it have been yesterday? No, excuse me, day before yesterday, Nigel Farage and Nick Candy, the new treasurer of the Reform Party, met with Elon Musk in Mar-a-Lago, where they discussed potential financing of the Reform Party. They spoke for an hour and they basically had a bit of chit-chat like, this is what's going on in the UK. And apparently they got on very well. Farage apparently and Musk are, well...
Two peas in a pod?
Two peas in a pod.
Huh, they're going caving together.
Nigel Farage and Elon Musk are going caving together.
Yes. The Nutty Putty Cave.
And Nick Candy. Oh dear. So anyway, I got to think about this and we started talking about it at the desk, and then Ed and I had quite a violent argument about it. Once again, I was right. And...
Once again, stupid idiot Ed had an opinion and it was wrong.
They should stop letting you have those.
No, honestly.
You've only been allowed to have those since when was Holyrood built? When was it built?
Probably 97. It opened in 99.
Okay.
It didn't even open in 99.
Scottish people haven't been allowed to have an opinion.
High Court in Edinburgh.
Until 1999.
Yeah.
So you should be grateful. What was that?
Bustling my lip.
Don't do that. Okay. So we were talking about this at the desk, and I said I thought that Starmer had messed this up. I thought he had butchered this. I thought that he should have made connection or had some kind of attempt at a relationship with Elon Musk, who is one of the world's richest men, who is someone who is very interested in technologies which, by the way, the Labour government want to currently find investors in the UK for. And he's also going to be, on Donald Trump's council. He's going to be head of Doge.
Yes.
So he's pretty important. And in any other diplomatic scenario, we would have said, well, you've got to just suck it up and be friends. Ed had a different opinion. And that's all we've got time for.
Right. So Elon Musk in his free time amplifies conspiracy theories about Keir Starmer. How absolutely pathetic would it be if he goes over and tries to chum up with the guy who's suggesting he's encouraging Islamic threats to the UK? Elon Musk, if he was interested in traditional diplomacy, why would he be meeting with someone who's trying to oust the current government? Why is he not behaving as a responsible member of a foreign ally?
Can we go one by one? Because on your first point, the other day on this here podcast, we said that Kemi Badenoch shouldn't have had erupted a diplomatic row with the Vice President of Nigeria with her comments about the country. We said it showed she was inexperienced, that she wasn't able to hold diplomatic relations with other countries, right? Yeah. So she wasn't a good leader. Starmer, ergo, should be able to hold diplomatic relations.
But I don't think you need to have diplomatic relations with Elon Musk. His job as the director of Doge is kind of busy work. He came up with the title of the department because it's a fucking meme. They're not going to be doing actual governance there. It's not actually that important. I actually don't think it's that important.
Well, I think plain brain thinks can observe that what Elon Musk has done is rather frightening, and it would be better if you could ignore him. However, you can't. When you look at what he did to, say, Twitter, for example, when he took that on and he fired most of the staff, that's probably something he's going to do when he gets into government. He's going to make huge cuts. So it's not just busy work. He's actually going to have quite a material effect on American lives. He's also he owns a social media website that should be regulated in the UK. Mm-hmm. The only way that you can properly regulate that is if you are to meet with the owner and actually have discussions, have meaningful conversations with him. If you just shut him out, that website still operates here. Whether you agree with what he says or doesn't, a lot of people are reading that or accessing that every single day.
I don't really buy the argument that you need to engage. What is now gaining currency on X or Twitter is entirely it's Musk's design, basically. The algorithm has been changed to suit his bent.
But we know that.
No, I know. So why on earth would he engage in a good faith discussion about the appropriate regulation of that? It's to Musk's benefit that it's in its current state. Twitter isn't the same website that was before the Can I finish my point?
Yeah, but I was bored of it.
I don't think I'm not. Also, I think is it a good thing for political parties to go cap in hand to billionaires and ask them for money?
So where did Starmer go before the election?
Where did he go?
Murdoch.
Well, I don't think that's good either.
And he went and he said, to News UK, and he made friends with The Sun, and he made friends with various broadsheets, and he said, please, can you put favourable coverage in your newspapers? Why is that any different when it comes to Elon Musk?
I think both are bad. I think having a billionaire with control of the distribution of information and politicians having to kowtow to them, that's a bad thing.
Okay, let me give you another one. Lord Ali.
Right.
He was a billionaire.
Yes.
He was buying a lot of stuff for Starmer.
Yes.
Is his cloth cleaner than Elon Musk's?
Is his cloth than Elon Musk? Yeah, probably.
Right, well then, let me try again.
Oh, the famous Lord Ali defender.
But he wasn't even in government. Elon Musk actually will be a part of that administration. I just basically think it's a real blindside. It's a weak point to have someone like Nigel Farage, very close friends with someone who is that close to the incoming American president, who has the ear of the American president. When you're a prime minister that is trying to secure some kind of US-UK trade deal, if you've got someone going round the back entrance to say Starmer's terrible, do not engage with him. I think that's a blindside.
But do we think that Nigel Farage is so influential that he's going to scupper the UK and the US's diplomatic relations?
But I don't know. But I just think that is a blind spot.
I think the government are. Well, I don't think they're totally abreast of the threat of reform. Actually, I don't really think they're engaging with it or handling it that well. I don't think they need to, just because Nigel Farage is doing something like going cap in hand and asking for hundreds of millions of pounds from a billionaire with probably nefarious intentions for UK politics. I don't think that means that Labour, because it's a race to the bottom. Like, in order for Musk to engage with Labour and the British government now, they would have to really bend over for him. He would not just come and go, yeah, guys, actually, I would like to invest in the UK. They'd have to offer him some real incentive. That probably isn't a good. It probably isn't a good thing.
With every single investment, there is always a bending over and having to offer ridiculous. For example, what happened with Tata Steel. That billionaire, he was given £500 million, and he was kowtowed to, and God knows what else. Rishi Sunak really bent over for him, but that was in a bid to. Didn't quite work out the way he planned, but it was in a bid to preserve jobs in that area. There was potential to say, hey, Elon, do you want to put your big Tesla factory here, employ a hell of a lot of people, and then have a gateway into the EU from the UK? That would have been very good for the UK economy. I basically just think Starmer has made a real big effort to not engage in some parts of the culture war, right? He said, I'm going to go and have diplomatic relations with people like Mohammed bin Salman, and I'm going to have relations with, I would even speak to Putin. This is the sort of projection that he's made. Then to decide that Elon Musk is not worth your time, to me, is just
but is it not
incongruent.
Is that not engaging with Putin and not Abramovich?
Does he not engage with Abramovich?
No. Abramovich.
How do we know that?
I would be astonished if he was engaging.
Does Abramovich own SpaceX?
No, but he's a billionaire. He's got a lot of money that he could fund the UK economy.
Does he have a key to AI, like Elon? We're about to be flooded by AI,
and he's responsible
and
for
no one is ready for it.
So
it would have been sensible for some kind of governmental department to have a relationship with a team in Elon Musk's company that is pushing AI. It would be sensible to have a relationship with them.
But I think that aim is at odds with what Elon Musk wants to do. He'd prefer less tech regulation, less big government, less government, anything. So he does want a smaller state. Yeah, that's fair. If there is there'd be no compromise between the government and what Elon Musk wants.
But we don't know that because they didn't engage.
But I don't think they need to. With Elon, they don't need to.
Well, do you know what? I know everyone in the comments is going to side with you. So
can I just make another point about reform in general?
No, we've got enough.
This is a good point.
Nah, it's all right. Anyway, thanks so much.
You're going to like it. You're going to like it. It's pro-reform.
So good.
I saw some people on the kind of radical right, far right, on Twitter saying they saw Musk with Candy and Farage and went, okay, it's reform. Reform is now definitely our vehicle. because the kind of the Tommy Robinson vein of the right in Britain, I think they've endorsed. I think they were quite pro UKIP now, whatever the ghost of UKIP is. There are reform isn't at this point all consuming on the right in Britain, but I think there's a recognition now that if Musk backs reform, they will be the vehicle for the radical right. They will be the insurgent far right party and attract.
They're not far right.
But it will make them more attractive to far right people. Radical right, I suppose, rather than far right.
Radical right, yeah.
Yeah, but there will be. It makes them more attractive to people who are not quite on board the reform train yet. Who are like, well, they're not far enough.
I think it's the only reason I correct you on far right is because I think it's important to be careful with your language about far right, because when something actually far right happens, because we sort of overuse the phrase, it can be weaponized by people who are on the radical right to say, you call everything far right.
Yeah.
Then when one day something actual far right happens, like for example the Southport riots, everyone goes, oh, you just say everything's far right.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
No, I think that is an important distinction, but I think like reform dips into that.
Dips the toe.
Like they bark sometimes.
They bark.
They bark, like the clip of Farage in Southport. Talking about I'm just asking questions. That was barky.
That was actually, I thought that was howling at the moon.
Very good. Have we got anything
Right.
else to say?
I think we're golden, Albine.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Anyway, look forward to you lambasting me in the comments. But look, I'm a diplomat and Ed's from Scotland.
Sometimes you need to sit down with Elon Musk and make images on grog. Sometimes. Thank you everyone for listening. I hope this is going to be the last on the day podcast we do. We've got some.
We don't have to tell them that.
No, we've got some treats for them.
Oh, we have
lined
actually
up.
got some real treats.
We've got some real treats.
We've got
for
a
you.
real corker for New Year's Eve.
We've got some some treat podcasts for you over the festive period.
If you're a fan of like the worst parts of the podcast,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
gonna like what we recorded
Yeah.
there.
We're drinking. It must be said, we are.
And Ed says some really controversial things.
I didn't realise they were controversial at the time, but having listened back, I might roll it back ever so slightly. Thank you so much for listening, everybody, and we'll see you in the new year.
We'll be in the comments.
We'll be in the comments. Bye-bye.
Bye.